So I see a bunch of stuff on the agenda. Travis, do we want to add the topo LVM stuff? I'm curious to hear an update on that. Well,
Yeah, I'll start adding some notes if we want to start with the other ones first, or we could do that first. Whatever.
or we could start with that first. I don't know. That's what I want to hear about. Um,
Yeah,
I mean, were you able to reach out to Toru? What was his name?
yeah. Briefly, at least the discussion we had so far was basically inviting them to be a storage provider of Rook. Does that make sense for them? Are they interested?
Yeah.
Um, so they thought about it for uh, a few days. Like, oh, that's an interesting idea. Let's think about it. And they came back and said, well, they don't really see that as something they're interested in right now. And it's like, well, okay. I mean, they want open governance, so I don't think it really changes our perspective on wanting to use top LVM. It was
Yeah.
just it would have made
Yeah.
things maybe a bit more streamlined and not having to worry about CNCF.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, but yeah, currently the plan is still that they would stay separate.
Okay.
But the topic I still need to bring up with them is that they is whether we could get to dynamic provisioning for raw devices instead of just with LVs through Topo LVM. We haven't discussed that yet. So, yeah, we're a couple other people on the team, Rohan Joseph and someone else, are diving more into prototyping with Topo LVM and
Okay.
trying to see, well, what I guess
Adding
want to have
use
a better
cases.
understanding of how things all fit together before we go
Yeah.
start that level of discussion.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Okay. Thanks. Um. All right. Should we just run through the list then? Let's see. There's the autoscaler and balancer modules. Um. Yeah. I mean, I think these are easy steps to take to disable the balancer. I think most of the time it doesn't matter during upgrades, except that if the upgrade stalls for some reason, like if you hit an error, one of the demons might be down, and so it might make sense then. But it's easy to add that. Um, I don't know. Maybe we can make it a configurable option. I'm not really sure. I think the main case where I would be worried about is if we're doing an upgrade and then we hit an error, and so the upgrade just pauses, then you might have down devices, and then you hit the 5 minute. Otherwise, we normally restart within the 5 minute issue.
What about the comment about full OSDs? I mean, obviously users probably shouldn't have full OSDs, but they
I
do.
mean, I think the full OSDs happen because you have an OSD that gets marked out, and then you get data migration, and that triggers a full. That's how I interpreted the code, at least.
Ah, okay.
Um,
I interpreted it the other way. It's just like if a user has a full OSD, they could not do the upgrade. But yeah, you're
I
probably
don't
right.
think that'll affect any of that. The upgrade should work with whether they're full or not full. Yeah, I don't know. I'm ambivalent on it. It's easy to add. It would be easy to just make it do a blanket no out when the upgrade starts and then stops. Um, uh, but it's also easy not to not do that. So I don't know. I haven't heard any users complain. I'd be curious if any users have. I'm sure people maybe have expressed concern, maybe, but I'm not sure if they've like actual issue with the behavior. Yeah. Anyway, okay. Um, all mons lost. Can we create a health warning if? Wonder if that should be. This doesn't necessarily have to be a StepVDM thing. because Ceph is already gathering all the crush location information for monitors when they start up. Well, it has a host name, and so it can figure out where they are. I can create a Trello card for that. That's pretty easy.
Do we have a recovery path or something like that? I mean, I know if you lose all your monster clusters, kind of screwed. Do we have some manual step to add more back in?
Um, yeah, I mean, if they're like really, really lost, like you lost the data, then there's this like really painful process where it rebuilds the monitor from the OSDs
Okay,
that you can take.
yeah, at
Um,
least there's a process.
and if you have the data somewhere, but like you can't start the daemon, then you can just literally copy the directory somewhere else and resurrect the monitor without too much trouble. Um, Seizing. Okay. That is a host maintenance bug in the KCLI environment. Are you familiar with this?
Not more than I got to the bug like prior to the meeting.
Hey Daniel, is you the one that are interested in this map? Who is the one?
I think Sebastian had added this to the Etherpad prior to the meeting.
Well, what I see in the map is that well, probably it's not related directly with KCLI. Okay, it's more a problem that we need to investigate directly in the manager's log. Okay, so. But I don't know. Well, it's the first time that I see the bug. But I will ping Sebastian, okay, in order to see if I can help with this.
Yeah, that would be my thought too. I don't know why KCLI would exactly be the cause of this problem. I would figure that the bug is more generic, just the maintenance mode.
Yeah.
So I think that well, it's going to be difficult to link this with the virtual machines. If the virtual machines are working, I don't see any relation.
Yeah, I figured just trying to. I don't know. I haven't personally used the maintenance mode recently. I don't know if maybe it's just broken, but and they're blaming KCLI here, but I'm gonna test probably.
Yeah, I don't really
I,
understand how the maintenance mode works. So
yeah, I know in the past Sebastian had talked about reworking it to use labels instead of the kind of convoluted system that it uses now.
that's nice. Yeah. Okay. Who wrote the maintenance mode stuff?
Sorry?
Who wrote the maintenance mode? Who designed it?
Well, I think that Paul and Daniel, Adam, and myself.
Okay. Okay. Right. All right. All right. Recover binding to all interfaces for Prometheus. Didn't this pull request merge? Wasn't there a pull request? Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think this makes sense.
There is a bug opened also in the Rook part about this, okay? Because now we are listening in all the interfaces, okay? And the Liveness Pro for the manager in Rook uses directly the address, the IP address of the manager pod. So if you make a change in the configuration using public and private networks, that is not going to be the IP address that
Right.
the manager is going to use. Okay. As far, well, I think that we decide to change the liveness probe in order to use a command instead of an HTTP request, okay? In order to
I see.
continue using listening in all interfaces, okay? Because I think that the problem, this is caused because a problem in the Docker implementation. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I think the thing is that so there's the binding behavior, whether you bind to the wildcard or the manager's current IP. But even if you bind to the wildcard address, you need to advertise a URL, right? So that people know how to reach it. And so in that case, we use the manager's IP, which is dynamically generated. Yeah, there a
I don't know if it is possible to revert this change. In the case of Rook, I think that we can solve that the problem. Okay, probably for the dashboard it's going to be more difficult to solve.
I feel like this command is fine. Sure, I'm understanding what the problem is here.
I think also a better possibility for Rook might be, well, what's the right liveness probe for the manager? Maybe it's not the endpoint where we need to figure out the IP. I mean, if we can't just bind to, um, 0.0.0.0 or, basically whatever interface. If it's a specific interface, that's where we have a problem. But if there's some other command we can run for the liveness probe, which is, Ceph, well, what's the best way to exercise the manager? There's all the different modules. So if you test one module, it probably would miss other modules failing too.
Yeah, just probably well, to check what is the status of the orchestrator. Okay, we have a response, then well, the manager is working.
Right. So if we just run a Ceph status, does that hit the manager?
Yeah,
Or
something like that.
right? Rather than worrying about the liveness probe endpoint, I think it makes sense to explore just running another Ceph command that hits the manager.
But I mean, it just does that just mean that this pull request needs to be adjusted so that the port still works? That's the that's the regression here, right? That the it doesn't let you configure the port.
Well, the issue is it's bound to a different network interface than Rook expects, because liveness probe it just uses the 0.0.0.0 colon Prometheus port for the endpoint, and so when it's bound to the other IP, it's not finding it for the host IP.
And in this case, it was defined in the cluster CRD two different networks, the public network and the private network. Okay, and the problem is that okay that well, we don't know this, what is the network with who is going to be bound the manager. Okay. So we cannot predefine the liveness probe without knowing what is the IP address that is going to use the manager.
Well, and for any of the other consumers of like the Prometheus metrics or the dashboard, it's not a problem really because the Kubernetes service routes to the pod just fine either way. It's really just the liveness probe that's confused or trying to
Yeah.
access the wrong thing. So we'll just use a different command for the liveness probe, and I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, if you have an appropriate one.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Right.
and I guess you don't know what the IP is going to be when you schedule the pod until it actually gets scheduled, right? That's the problem.
Exactly. Yeah, with host networking. If you're just using the default pod networking, then
Right.
we can basically tell it to look for the pod IP, which we can specify as a variable that the liveness probe can access.
But this fixes it. Like if we go back to that as binding to the wildcard, then it's all fine again, right?
Right, that's
the
what
problem. Yeah.
Rook expects. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it seems like we should just adjust this pull request so it doesn't clobber the port, and then I think we'll be fine.
So it doesn't clobber which thing?
The port isn't the problem that it's not preserving the port with this pull request.
It looks like it's setting the port though. There's a line in there with Jerry Pie config thing. But
The
just,
port, but
I
the
thought,
port isn't getting
yeah.
included in the URI. I think it's not the port.
I thought the port was
Oh
still
no, it
there.
is. Yeah. So this pull request seems fine to me then. But Bastion said in this comment, this PR removes the ability to bind the dashboard to a specific port. I don't see where that is.
maybe that's the old and whoever made this PR fixed it.
Oh yeah, no. Okay, so
Maybe that was the case.
a Sahar, a Shambar, whatever. That's not the case. It turned out we need the ability to quote bind. Yeah, I think it's fine. I don't know. I talked to Sebastian. I think we can use. It still seems okay to me. But maybe seeing what his concern is. Okay. What are the? Should we go through these other work issues, Travis? Since we're on the
Oh
same
yeah.
topic.
Right. The other one was with Joseph's NFS pool change. But I think we're ready for it, but I guess the question is, do we need to wait for that merge in our backport to Pacific, which is still open? And I think, does that mean it's going to miss 16.2.6
It'll miss
at this
6. The
point?
plan is to merge it right after 6 so that it bakes for a while for .7 because there's the NFS changes are like 107 patches or whatever. It's a lot of stuff.
Sure.
So
Okay, so maybe if we updated the Rook PR, Joseph's PR to rely on .7,
yeah,
we could probably just go ahead and merge it, and it just won't.
Yeah.
That new path
Yeah.
won't be active until
I
.7.
think that's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Joseph, do you want to just do that, or did you already do that actually? Update it so it checks.
I'll do it like now. Yep.
Perfect. Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, and then I guess in the documentation, I put that like snippet of batch in there. Like there's nothing like. It occurs to me also that it might also be possible just to rename the pool. Like there's a safe CLI that lets you rename Rados pools. That might also work. Pool is part of the export config. It might not be. Anyway, yeah. this bash is enough to. I doubt there are any or many users out here that will be affected, but putting it somewhere in the docs should be fine.
I think that's all I had for Rook.
Cool. Okay. And then what's this last tracker
This
ticket?
one, I suppose you gateway in the shell.
Attached to it. Anybody understand this issue?
Yeah. Basically, the problem is that in order to configure ESCASI, you need to connect directly with the ESCASI container, or go into the ESCASI container where resides the ESCASI CLI interface. Okay, I don't remember the name of the tool.
GWCLI.
Yes.
But so it's not in the
yeah,
so it's not in the shell then. Is that basically it? Like it's not in
that's
the
it.
video container.
That's it. So in order to configure that, you need to go directly to the host where the container is running and go into the container and make the configuration that path. So
I see.
one possibility is make possible to access this configuration directly from the Ceph shell. I think that this is the issue.
Yeah, so I mean, we could just, what if we just did like, um, Ceph iSCSI, but that mapped to GWCLI inside container. Like, what if we just created a new set of the Ceph CLI? That, something like that. I've never used any of this iSCSI stuff, so I'm not really sure what this CLI does or what people need to do with it, but I think making top level Ceph CLI commands might make sense.
Yeah, probably it will need some kind of configuration, okay, in order to launch the GWCLI tool in a container.
I mean, we know does the gateway CLI, does it configure like a running gateway? Does it have to be, is that bound to a host? I don't really know how the iSCSI stuff works, I'll be honest.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
I was taking a look at this a few months ago, but my memory is a disaster.
Yeah. Okay.
We can ask Paul Kastner
Yeah.
about this.
I mean, maybe if the high level goal is just to pull it into the Ceph CLI so it's like easy to use and you can run it anywhere, then the question, kick it back to the whoever's familiar with iSCSI to like decide how the CLI should actually work. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? I think we have all the stuff in for .6, right? Everything's merged and is .6 even, are we testing it already? I don't even know I've lost track of the status of that. But seems like the big next backport is all the NFS stuff, which will be as soon as .6 is out.
I think I saw the repo was locked a few days ago,
Yeah.
Friday or something, but
Yeah, I guess,
sure
okay, so emails, FS is approved. Sebastian just said, I think we're in good shape. Yep, okay. Cool. All right. And thanks, everyone.
Goodbye.
All right, see
Bye.
you.
Have a good one.